Hello. Setting up a lease in Schedule My Rent saves you time and increases your revenue by automating your lease and accurately tracking all charges. After a lease is set up, we automatically communicate with tenants and start collecting rent, including sending rent reminders, receipts, late fee notices, and many other items. I will be walking you through how to set up and customize your lease. From the Unit View screen, you can either add a new lease or edit a current lease. To set up a new lease, click on the Add New Lease link. To edit an existing lease, click on the Edit Lease link. If you need to view or edit an old lease, select a previous rental agreement here first. I am now going to show you the new lease screen. Each lease is broken down into different sections. The first section is Tell us how often to collect rent. Under the monthly option, you can collect either once or twice per month. You also have options to collect quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. You also have the option to collect once a week, every other week, and so on. If you chose monthly, the next section is Tell us how you define a month. You can select a calendar month, or you can select a rolling month where a month can start on a different day. The next section is Tell us about the lease dates. First, enter the date that the lease starts. If this is an existing lease that started in the past, enter that past date. You can then select if the lease is month to month or if there is a specific end date on the lease. With a fixed-term lease, you enter the end date, for example, February 28, 2025. If you would like this lease to automatically extend to a month-to-month lease after the end date, you click this box to automatically extend the lease. The next section is Tell us about the rent to collect every month. These are the items that will be added automatically every month. Please do not include one-time items, such as a one-time charge for damage, which are added from the unit view. There are two options in this section. The first option is to add a single charge, which may also show a list of items that make up the total. Most landlords use this option. The second option is to add each item as a separate charge. This allows separate reporting for each detailed item. In this example, the first item I'm adding is rent for $1,000. If you want to add additional detail, click on the plus sign. You can select an item from the drop-down box. For example, you can select cable TV. You can also enter a custom charge description, such as Time Warner Cable and TV. Next, enter the amount. When there are two or more charge descriptions, a group description question appears. You can choose from the drop-down list or enter a custom description. I am entering total rent as the group description. In this example, a single charge for $1,100 will be added automatically, which is made up of $1,000 rent and $100 Time Warner Cable and TV. I am now switching screens and showing you what the tenant sees when they log in. The tenant can see the total rent description for the charge. The detail is shown below, which is rent for $1,000 and Time Warner Cable and TV for $100. The total of $1,100 is the amount that is due. The tenant can then pay using their bank account, credit or debit card, or with cash at one of MoneyGram's 30,000 retail locations like Walmart. Instead of selecting, one total charge will be added. I am going to select that each charge is added separately. The two items are now separated into two different charges. Rent will be added as one charge, and Time Warner Cable and TV will be added as a separate charge. If you have late fees on the lease, they use the category setting. If you have the same category multiple times, you typically need to uncheck the Apply Late Fee box so that the late fee is not added twice. You can also change the category with the drop-down box or type in a custom category. Each of these charges operates completely independently. You can set up a late fee for rent and a completely different late fee for TV. Once again, each charge operates independently. I am now switching screens and showing you what the tenant sees when they log in. This example is showing charges that are added separately instead of being grouped. The tenant can see the first charge is rent for $1,000. The second charge is Time Warner Cable and TV for $100. These two charges are separate and operate independently. The total shown at the bottom is $1,100. I am now selecting which day of the month that rent is due. Most leases specify that rent is due on the first of the month, but you can enter any custom date needed. If you are collecting rent once per month, leave this second box as none. If you are collecting rent twice a month, for example, the 15th of the month, then select the 15th, and 1/2 of the rent will be automatically added on the first of the month, and 1/2 of the rent will be added on the 15th. I am now selecting the first date that rent will be automatically added. This is typically the first day of the lease, but it may be a future month if you are providing the first month's rent for free as a lease incentive. You may also select a future month if you need to manually adjust the first month's rent for another reason. For example, if the lease starts in the middle of the month, the system will offer you prorated options, but you may want a different amount and need to manually add the first month's rent from the unit view. If you have an upcoming change in the rent amount, either higher or lower, you can enter it in this section. Click on the plus sign to add one or more scheduled changes. Just enter the effective date, a set amount or a percentage change, and the value. The rent change will go in automatically. The next section is called Tell Us About Late Fees, where you can set up custom late fees for each lease. The first option is to add a typical late fee, which is a single fee if the amount is not paid in full. The second option is to add a daily late fee, which is a fee that may continue to be added until the amount is paid in full. You can also add or stack multiple late fees and daily late fees to support different situations. Each fee you add is based upon a specific individual charge. I am going to click on the Add Late Fee button to open up the options. You can set the effective start date and end date for the fee. Here, you set the description of the fee by selecting one of the choices from the drop-down menu or by typing in a custom description directly into the box. To select a grace period, enter when a late fee will be added by typing in the number of days after an item is due. For example, if I enter 3 days, then a late fee is automatically added 3 days after an item is due. If an item is due on the first of the month, then this fee will be added the morning of the 4th. If the item was paid in full, the late fee will not be added. Next, enter the amount of the late fee that will be automatically added. You can select a fixed amount, a percentage of the rent amount, or a percentage of the remaining amount due. In this example, I'm adding that the late fee will be 10% of the amount. If the amount due was $1,000, then a $100 late fee will be added. You can set a limit on the maximum amount of this late fee. This section is often used to ensure that you stay in compliance with state and federal regulations. The final setting is used to indicate which charge category this fee applies to. This field is only available if you are itemizing charges. At the beginning of the lease, you may have itemized several different fees. For example, there may be different charges for rent and TV service, and each have their own category. You can apply this late fee to either the rent or to the TV service, depending which category you select. Please watch the video called Automatic Late Fees to see additional explanations and examples on how to stack late fees to support your custom needs. The next section is called Tell Us About Return Fees. You have the option of automatically adding a return fee to the tenant's account if a payment returns or bounces. In this example, I'm adding a $40 return fee. If the tenant pays the fee, the funds are automatically transferred to your account. Schedule My Rent does not charge a separate return fee to the landlord or to the tenant. If a return fee is charged, you have the option of waiving the return fee from the unit view. The next section is called Tell Us Where to Deposit Money, where you can select which bank account to use. This section is only visible if you have set up 2 or more bank accounts. The first option is where to deposit money you collect from rent. If you leave it as default, it goes to the bank account that you set up for the business. If you don't want to use that default business account, you can select a different bank account. The next option is where to deposit money you collect for a security deposit. Some states require that rent and security deposit funds are kept in different bank accounts. The next option is where to deposit money you collect for prepaid rent. For example, you may be collecting the last month's rent upfront. You can use the same bank account or select a different one. The next section is Other Options, where you can customize how payments are handled. If you allow partial tenant payments, then one tenant or multiple roommates are each able to make payments that are smaller than the total amount due. If this is not checked, Then a single tenant has to make a payment for the total amount. Use this option to allow or not allow tenants to schedule payments in the future. Otherwise, tenants can only enter payments for the current day. As a final option, you can stop a tenant from scheduling payments in the future only when they are currently past due. Next, select what payment types a tenant is allowed to use. You can select any combination of bank account, credit or debit card, and MoneyGram. If there is a history of payment issues on a lease, you can limit payments to MoneyGram only. Since MoneyGram payments are made with cash, they can't return or bounce like other payment types. Next, select how payments are automatically applied to charges by selecting either the oldest amount first, the rent first, or the fees first. Selecting different options may change if a late fee is added. After a payment has been made, if you need it to be applied to a different charge, you can move it by selecting the Allocate Payments link from the unit view. For this lease, you can select if renter's insurance is required for either one tenant or for all tenants. If it is required, we automatically ask tenants to either upload proof of their renter's insurance or purchase renter's insurance through Schedule My Rent. Landlords can review and approve the renter's insurance documents that tenants upload from their renter's insurance screen. The next section is tell us about the people that will be paying rent through Schedule My Rent. This includes tenants, roommates, and other people that might be paying rent, such as parents. Enter the first person by entering their first name, last name, and email address. If you have more than one tenant, click the Add Tenant button. You can continue to add as many tenants as you need. Each tenant has an active box. If there are multiple roommates and one leaves, but you still want to keep the lease going, you can uncheck the active box for the roommate that is leaving. In a different situation, you may have an eviction situation where you do not want to accept any payments. You can uncheck the active box for each tenant, which stops all tenants from making a payment with their bank account, credit card, or through MoneyGram. You can use the lease notes to type notes, which are only visible to the landlord. If you make any changes throughout the lease, you need to click either the Save button or the Save and Invite Tenants button. The Save Invite Tenants button automatically sends each tenant an email invitation to sign up on Schedule My Rent. And that's it. This video has shown you how to set up almost any custom lease situation, which saves you time and increases your revenue by accurately tracking all charges. Please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.